Hello everyone, welcome back to FASTFIX. Today, or over the next few days, we're going to be transforming this tiled floor into a limestone floor. I've just had this delivered here, some 4 different sizes, I think 600 by 600, 600 by 30, 600 by 900, and at the back there 30 by 30 slabs to transform this 15 square metre patio area from a tiled slippery floor to a limestone floor. And this is where I've just dry laid some of it just to sort of get a pattern going and see how it's going to go down. Obviously, if you've ever seen any of my videos before, you might have seen that I built this pergola across the front of my house. It's about a 5.5 metre span, and I took a conservatory down. If you want to see that video or that series, it might be, I can't remember now, it was a year or two ago, check a look in the description or try and leave a link in the top corner for you to go watch that video if you watch this one. But this used to be a conservatory floor, tiled, and as you can see, the winter's taking a toll on it, bringing it up. It's obviously a 70s floor as well, just ceramic tiles, normal house tiles. Doesn't do particularly well in the outdoor weather, so we're going to be transforming it to this. There is a lot of prep to do. As you can see, I've had to take off the bottom rung of the fence so I can fit the tiles underneath. It did have a wooden board around the edge, and it's got these grey tiles on this edge which will be getting covered. And obviously I need to prep this floor completely, clean it, scuff it up with a grinder, so it's obviously got a good bed for the new slabs to go down on, as this is too slick and won't be a good bed for the new patio to go on. So that'll be the next step, getting the grinder out and tearing up these tiles to give a good bed for the new limestone tiles to go on. And that's just a sort of a section of what it will look like, obviously not grouted down or anything, just dry laid to try and get a bit of an idea of what it's going to look like after. And that is the intro to this video. There probably will be mostly time lapse from now on, and a bit of conversation in between the time lapse of what I've got on with and what I've done. DIY job as always on this channel, and I'll give you some costs maybe towards the end of what all the slabs and everything cost me, because you'll be surprised at how much 15 square meters of slabs cost these days. It is crazy. So I'm going to leave you there, and I'll update you with maybe a bit of a grinding time lapse and then what it looks like once it's all grinded up. Peace. Hello, yes, so I'm back with dry laying the patio with some 20mm spacers. I had an issue that there's a gap. There's about an overall 20cm gap because of this here, which used to be the edge of the old conservatory. So if that wasn't there, the slabs would line up to the edge, so I need to make this up. So what I've been advised to do online is create a border out of gravel or slate, and then I'll polymer it in so it doesn't scatter all over the place. Might make a video on that at a later point when I get round to it. But a top tip I've had with these tiles, and you can see there's a 2 straight line there, it's too long, and there's one there that I need to break up, because I've just been going in and having real problems finding a pattern that works. But I've just had a top tip that is, don't let 4 corners meet. So if these were the 4 tiles or new slabs, don't let the 4 corners meet. Make sure the cross, like this for example, so you've got 2 corners and a long slab. So over there I'm going to make an amendment to try and stop this long line. What I think I'll do is take out the end one, slide that one across, and then put one of them that way round. Yeah, so I eventually found the pattern using the 4 corner method, or the not using 4 corners method, and got them all in. I've actually got quite a few left. I've got 4 of these, 2 big ones, couple of smaller ones lying around, so got a couple of square meters more than I need, which is fine. But I've started bonding a few in, and I'll show you what I'm using the next time I mix some up. But it's basically it's adhesive, indoor and outdoor tile adhesive rather than sand and cement. It's this MyPay floor and tile adhesive for indoor and outdoor use. I do a quick dry one as well, but I thought I'd get the longer drying one, basically because I'm putting it down onto a concrete base that is already flat. There's no need to use a thick bed of sand and cement to basically shore up the footing. Like I didn't need a rubble base, I don't need a thick sand and cement base to level it all out. It's already level, so you can basically almost use a tile adhesive, as long as it's obviously built for outdoors. And I've put PVA on the back of the slab to stop moisture coming up through and ruining the bond, basically, which is something apparently you can either put a slurry of sand and cement on the bottom or use PVA to stop moisture seeping through over time, because it's natural stone and ruining the adhesive underneath. Or if you're on a concrete sand and cement base, it's got ground underneath it, as in mud, and stops the moisture leaking up through the tiles and breaking the bond. But that is just the update is today. And when I do some more of the actual laying down of the slabs with the mix, I'll record a couple of it. But I've got this top row in, so it's straight, 13mm gap all the way from the wall to the tiles for the border, and I'll show you how to do that in the next video. So I'm back, and so is the dog, as you can see. We've got the grinder out, and we're going to grind away some of the tile so we can lay one down. I'll just show you me laying a couple of slabs in, and what I'm doing with the adhesive that I showed on the previous clip. I don't actually think the grinding is particularly necessary with this adhesive. It's made to glue, stick, bond between like all types of flooring. It's not like a sand and cement base, so I'm just doing this as an additional precaution. I don't think it's actually necessarily particularly needed. But better be safe than sorry, I guess. So I'll do a little bit of grinding on a time lapse, and then we'll get into PVAing and sticking the slabs down. There it's a bit keyed up now. Just if you run your finger across it, it's like rough. So just gives a little bit of a key for the adhesive to go down on, rather than it going down on the flat polished tile. But I'll PVA the slab now, and I need to mix up the adhesive and lay the slab, so that'll be the next job. Obviously you want to be PP'd up for all this, because it's throwing grinder dust and tile dust all over the place, and it stinks. So I'm just using some normal everyday PVA, and I don't know, about a 1:5 ratio of PVA to water. So I'll just mix up a little bit. And there we go, this is all I do. And just paint it on the slab. And that's that. The next is to mix up the adhesive for the actual laying of the slab. So we'll stick you back down like that for now. Just going to mix up a bag, well, half a bag of my adhesive. It takes 4 to 4.5 litres of water per bag, so I'm putting 2.5 litres in per half. Seems to make a decent mix. So now we'll get to laying the slab. I'll put the adhesive down. Got a bucket trowel, a tile adhesive, whatever you call it, one of these, trowel. And one thing, the most important thing for this entire job, some knee pads, because my knees are in bits. So let's get to it. These are super heavy, these big ones. Then I'm just lining it up across the back, and I'll just get my square on my straight edge, not square. Just make sure it's in line with the other tile. Which it is, and then make sure the level's right. We'll tap it down in a minute. As you can see, it needs tapping down slightly. It'd help if I was organised and had everything out with me, but you know what it's like. I like to just give it a little wiggle with this adhesive, just get it all in there, and then I've got this one with the without them, and you can see if it just runs across the next tile, and if it does that, obviously, then you know it's at the right height to the next tile. A bit of a crack in the tile there, so it's not. And obviously these stones being natural stone, they're not exactly a perfect thickness. As in they're not all as thick as each other, there's some slight differentiation, so it's not like a porcelain tile where they're all exact. You will see some slightly higher spots and lower spots. As you can see, that runs across there just fine, so I'm happy with that. I will be putting a border on this bit as well, because obviously the tiles stop here again because of the edge, but there'll be a piece of this board trim going across the bottom, so you won't see that outer edge anyway. So we'll get on to the next tile. Obviously this edge needs to be square with the edge of the patio. So that's fine. And that is how I'm laying the slabs. I mean, some of you probably won't agree with the way I'm doing it. But it is what it is for this base. I can't make a big thick layer because obviously I'm butted up to the current patio door and back door. So I can't build a huge layer that goes above the door jamb. See over there, you've only got a small gap. So I needed some thin bonding adhesive like this to actually make this work. And this stuff seems to have gone off absolutely rock solid. So I've got no issue with using this long term. It is outdoor. It's frost resistant exterior adhesive that's made for this type of job. So if anyone's concerned about the bonding agent I'm using, it is made for this purpose. And I'll get back to you when all the slabs are laid and we get into the grouting. Okay, when the patio is down, I've started pointing over there. I'll show you what I'm using for pointing and how to use it. It's the SIKA FASTFIX dark grey resin grout. But can any of you spot where I've made a mistake in the pattern? And I put some overlays up of what I've done and what I should have done. Because some of you will notice if you've watched the whole video what I said about 4 corners together, and there is a point with 4 corners together because I've done 2 or 3 slabs at a time and put them back on in the wrong order like an idiot. But like I say, I will get on to showing you how I've done the pointing, because there is a technique to using it, as it's not sand and cement, it's the Prima FastFix resin type grout. I'll be back. Okay everyone, welcome to this video. I'm going to talk to you about using SIKA FASTFIX to grout your patio. This stuff is very good as long as you use it correctly, and I'm going to go through a few quick tips before I go into a bit of a demo about what you should do to make sure this is going to work for you and your situation. So first things first, this is £30 a tub, so it's a lot more expensive than using sand and cement. It says it covers up to 20 square meters on a tub. That is probably if the joint is 5mm by 20mm deep, which it says in the instructions. Most people on stone patios do not have a 5mm gap, they're going to have a 15 to 20mm gap, which basically means you're going to need twice as much of this than you think you're going to need. My patio is 15 square meters. I've used this full 14k tub, and I'm going to need at least another one, so double the amount I think I'm going to need, because my grouting area is probably 20 by 20, not 20 by 5. So it's something to bear in mind when you think of the cost of your grouting. Number 2 is watering your slabs before you put the grouting compound in. 2 reasons. 1, it protects the top of your slab from getting stained from the stain in the actual compound. And 2, it helps with the setting process and gives you a little bit of extra working time. But in the grouting joint, you don't want it to be a puddle. So if you've got some cement in there from when you've put your pavers down, it's making a puddle, you need to make sure it's not puddling. So you need the top of your slab to be very wet, but you need the actual in the grouting hole to just be damp. You do not want it to be soaking wet, even though this stuff says it can be applied in the rain. So I don't know why that is, but you're better off not having your joints saturated but still wet when you're putting it in. And 3, and the most important thing about using this, and why most people's patios fail or complain or they say that these resin type products are rubbish, is because they don't compact the product when they put it in the grout. You'll get a lot of builders or contractors come in, probably lay a patio, and they'll brush this stuff into the grout line, and within a few months, a year or so, your grouting has come out and you're ringing back to complain. It's because they don't want to spend the extra hour, 2 hours, 3 hours at the end of the day going round on their hands and knees compacting grout, and that is what it is. It will last a long time if you put it in properly. The problem is it's a bit of graft on your knees to get it in properly, but compaction is the biggest and most key thing to this working long term. So it's a step you cannot miss. Setting time, it says on the back here, which I don't quite get why it says when you open the bag you've got an hour to use it. It comes in 2 7-kilogram bags. So you don't have to use the entire 14 kilograms in one go. You get 2 shots at it. You can put it in a bucket of water for up to a month for it to last and be reused. But it says when you've got the bag open, and if you're not going to store it in water, it needs to be down and in the grout holes within an hour, which is not a particularly difficult thing to do. If you've got 20mm grout holes, this stuff gets used up pretty quickly. You can easily use a bag in an hour. But it does make me think why it says it'll start to go off in 6 to 12 hours in 15 degrees plus, and it'll take longer if it's between 4 and 15 degrees. Well, if you need to use it within an hour of opening the bag and it's saying it doesn't start to go off for 6 hours, what's the rush? But you're better off sticking to the instructions. And like I said, if you don't use the whole bag, you can put it in a bucket of water and keep it up to a month and come back to it. And next thing, you're just going to need some tools for obviously the compaction. I've got a small piece of wood there that'll fit between my grout lines. I've got a chisel here instead of a grouting tool, and I've got a God, I can't remember what you call it now, but I'm going to call it a spatula, but I know it's not, to get in the lines and press it in to the grouted areas. And as long as you do that, stick to the rules, wet it down, compact it, and leave it for its full set time, you will have no problems using this stuff. So let's jump over to the patio and give you a quick demo of me using it, and then we'll give you a final picture of the patio once it's all grouted. So let's see you over there now. So now we'll get to the demo. We'll just do this small section here. Firstly, we'll crack open the bag. I'll show you what it looks like. So just like a resin, little resin balls it looks like. It smells like biscuits. It's a weird smell. But we need to obviously wet down the tiles, like I said first. So I'm just going to put it on a real slow, gentle, mainly to get the top of the tile, not too much in the joint, but you do want the joint wet. But you don't want it puddled in the joint. So that should be plenty. And then obviously with my little wooden compression tool and my trowel, we'll get it on there. What you want to do is lay quite a lot out and then spread it into thick, and I'll try and do it without getting in the way of the camera too much. Some knee pads is a good idea and all, because your knees will get destroyed doing this job. Just get it on, whack it in thick, because you obviously want to be compressing it in. You scrape it into the joint. I like to use the edge of the trowel. And you can use your stick. Obviously it probably would be easier if you had a proper compaction, a proper grouting tool, but I haven't got them. Just keep putting it on, keep compressing it in. Like I said in the intro, the more you compress it, the better lasting joint you'll get. It's really the key for this stuff. So really, really compress it in. That's why I like using one of these trowels, because like the joint is now in. Just clean up the edges, push it into the next joint, and then you can go down once with the cornery edge of the trowel and just do a finishing pass like that, and you just keep working your way down. And I'll leave you on time lapse for a bit longer, and I'll come back to it when the patio is fully done. Just recording some voiceover here about the costs, because I pay £320 for these slabs for a pallet off eBay. These slabs for 15 square metres in a place like B&Q are over £1,000. So definitely look out for deals like that on reclaimed slabs, etc. Grout was £60 because I was using the FASTFIX, so it's much more expensive than sand and cement. And overall, the actual adhesive mix cost about £70. Again, it probably will be cheaper if you're using sand and cement. Tools and everything are obviously additional, but I obviously had them, so you'll need to factor them into your budget if you're doing it. Hello everyone, the patio is now all done. All the grouting is in and complete. You can see where it's still got some damp marks around the edge of the grouting where it's been washed off. But it is all in there. And you can see that it's all set rock solid. After a couple of days, this grout, if it's cooler weather, it can take a day or two to really go hard, but it is all in there. Obviously the patio now needs a good pressure wash to finish it all off, but it is looking much better than it did prior, and you can tell me what you think. My DIY pergola there, if you want to go watch that video, you can on the channel. But that is how to use the SIKA Fix grout, and that is the finalised patio project, and we'll move on to the next one in the next video, which will be to fill this cavity in here with slate and use some of that exterior polymer glue to glue the slates into place all the way along the edge, and we'll see how good that works and if it's worth the hassle and how well it holds the stones in place in the next video. If you've liked this project, if you like the patio, if you're thinking of doing one yourself, please like, favourite and subscribe, and go watch a few of my other videos. And that is all, and that's bye from Toast the puppy as well. See you later.